He sent the B team. He actually sent the C or D team. I mean, really low-level guys. But they had enough authority to reject the Americans sitting in there and kicking out the Turks.
Yeah, that was interesting.
It's
So
not,
that was okay. So I'll give him that. I'll give you that particular
okay.
point. So Greg and I were talking earlier today, and he said something. I was like, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Yeah, can you believe that the Russians did so well on this in the ceasefire negotiation talks?" And I was like, "Greg, are we talking about the same thing? Because I saw it exactly the opposite way." And so we're going to talk about how we view the same thing differently. Speaking of viewing things different, I was at the eye doctor today, and I had my eyes dilated. That's why I have this on. So mercifully, I got my earlier stuff out before this. But yeah, so
To be honest
funny
with you,
jokes.
I thought we had really upgraded this conversation and I was interviewing Ray Charles, but we'll stick with Prof. Gertis. So we view this differently. Let's start with you, what you're looking at, and then we'll just talk back and forth.
I saw it as a big win for Ukraine. And when you were like, he texted something, I was like, what are you talking about? And then I called him and we were talking about something like, how do you see this as a big win for Russia? So, okay. My view is that it's a big win for Ukraine. First, Zelensky showed up, Putin didn't. Okay. And so Putin kind of pantsed himself on the world stage as being all for peace when he's clearly not. Now, I don't know how long it's going to take for Trump to wake up to this or if he'll ever wake up to this, but I think that was a big win. And anybody who's paying attention of the rational kind of actors in the world that aren't like, Kim Jong-un and Iran and China and that sort of thing, but Lula in Brazil, all the other rational countries are going to look at that and go, does he really want peace or not? Because like he could have gone. So, okay. So tell me what you see.
I see it completely opposite. I see that Putin put out the May 15th date for negotiations in Turkey based on the 2022 talking points. He made that very clear. Zelensky, kudos to him, which I completely support, of course, going and taking the high-level team. But at the end of the day, you had negotiations between Umarov and some lower guys with him. You had the negotiations with 4 extremely low-level guys from Russia who are already spewing more rhetoric. Putin did not come, and I even view it differently with Xi Jinping, Lula with Brazil, Donald Trump, because these people, in my opinion, the Trumps, the Xi Jinpings, the Rocket Boys, the Putins, none of them really want peace. So I believe they all want the destruction of America, including Donald Trump right now, because he's doing a good job destroying our country, in my opinion. So I don't see how we can look at this as a victory for Ukraine. They got nothing but 1,000 prisoners exchanged. So that is good.
Yeah, all right, so they got that. That's good.
What else did they get?
Okay, so you were talking about Donald Trump
to take 2 more regions.
So you're talking about Donald Trump wants the destruction of America. You're confusing incompetence in something with willful intent. I think Donald Trump wants to have a huge legacy about how he's so awesome and that whatever, and he's just not very good at actually getting there, at least not the way that normal people would get there. I don't know that he will get there or won't get there, but I don't think he wants the destruction of America. I don't think he willfully is doing that. I think he is just not doing the right things in order to do the things that would actually help him, be huge and thought of as wonderful. Because
fair enough,
he's got an ego. He's got an ego the size of his building in New York. So I just okay.
Fair enough.
At any rate. Okay,
but you're right about getting ready to put a video out on this later that president of the United States just praised Iranian drones, and now he wants Iranian drones. He's praising them. We see nothing.
It's
ridiculous. You haven't seen that?
No, I'm just saying that's ridiculous. I mean, it's just
absolutely ridiculous.
I can't figure out for the life of me what he's doing.
Why would the president of the United States make a degrading tweet? And I'm not a fan of Taylor Swift and say, well, as soon as I started hating her, nobody sees her as hot anymore. Quote, that is not, and this is not what we want to talk about, but this is a part of the problem. It's a part of the
Oh,
problem.
sure, he's a part of the problem, and I mean, I don't know if he will actually wake up and see. No, if he's going to wake up, something like Putin actually not showing up would help move him that direction, and I think some of his advisors are actually there's a handful, a very small group that are trying to say, "Look, he didn't even show up, this guy," right? So,
But Donald
I
Trump made the statement, Putin didn't show up because I didn't show up.
Right, I understand, and then, if that's the case, then what you would wanna ask is, well, why didn't you on the first day just meet with Putin and meet with Zelensky if, that's actually the
Okay.
problem?
Then I will answer that one, because this validates that Donald Trump doesn't truly care about Ukraine. I think that's
No,
proven.
nobody's arguing that he cares about
Okay.
Ukraine. He
Well,
cares
that's a
about Donald
problem.
Trump.
That's a
Yeah, I
problem.
I agree. I
If you
agree.
don't care about a nation, then you can't help that nation get out of a pickle because you don't
Okay, that
care.
that's fine. But the point of this was what happened in the peace talks, and in the peace talks, I think that it was a net positive for Ukraine because Trump pants, sorry, not Trump, Putin pantsed himself, and that only leads to extra pressure from the rest of the world. So you saw Mertz, you saw what's her name from Prime Minister Maloney of Italy, you saw Starmer's comments, all saying the same kind of things like, "Look, he's not even showing up." This is just showing you he doesn't want peace. Now, of course, Lavrov is on the other side saying the Ukrainians don't want peace because he defines it differently. If you want peace, surrender. But like Putin clearly doesn't want peace, and I think it just showed that like he sent the B team. Everybody knows he sent the B team, and so this is not a good look for Russia if they want to claim that they're for peace.
Okay, let me throw a couple of these at you, and I don't want to blindside you here. That's kind of funny,
Ha
but
ha
I
ha.
don't want to blindside you here.
Yeah,
But
make the eye
we
jokes here.
we already have confirmations from Medinsky, who was the chief negotiator for Russia at the table, who says, quote, maybe some of those sitting here at this table will lose more of their loved ones. Russia is prepared to fight forever. We also have it on the Russian state television.
Okay, let's stop there. Hold on, before you go on to the next, let's stop
Okay,
there. I say that's a good thing that he said that he exposed that you can hear that they do not want peace.
on
Yeah,
that,
I mean, it's just a different
okay,
perspective, right?
completely
Like,
agree.
neither of us are involved in like, "Hey, I'm calling you out because 'cause you're
No, 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 no.
wrong." Like, neither of
Okay,
us are doing that.
you just rung my bell. I agree
Okay?
with how you can perceive that way. But
Mhm,
I come from the viewpoint that the leader of the free world doesn't care about Ukraine, and that
mhm.
we are seeing the European leaders drag their feet. They're very good at meetings, very good at meetings, but not very good at action.
They have
And
meetings about meetings,
I'm not,
right?
listen, in all fairness, they've supplied billions. The United
Mhm.
States has supplied billions, but we're talking about trying to defeat this Russian war machine. So I can understand your perception of that could be positive for Ukraine. So fair enough. I
Sure,
see it
so
differently.
even within the United States, I think over time you're gonna see statistically it'll shift a little bit now as the people in the US will start to see like, Putin didn't even show up. Like, does he really want peace? Is that what really so I think that you're gonna start to see those kind of things move. I think it'll move the numbers. I don't know how much. I don't know that it's a game changer. I wouldn't say that. But I think it was a black eye for Putin. Okay,
And
go ahead to the next one.
Medinsky said after that, quote, we don't want war, but we're ready to fight for a year, two, three, however long it takes. We fought Sweden for 21 years. How long
Mhm.
are you ready to fight? Question mark.
Again,
Mhm.
great. He's showing who they are and
But we know who
how
they
what their
are.
disposition is.
This
I'm
is where
sorry?
we view it differently. We already know who they are. They're
Yeah,
murderers. This is three
so you
years
and I
going
do,
on.
but if you're giving Putin the benefit of the doubt, maybe you're not
I don't
now.
give him a
May
benefit of a doubt. He's a dictator and
Not
a
you. I
terrorist.
mean, if somebody else is giving Putin, like, a neutral party, doesn't know a lot about it, they're giving him a benefit of the doubt, now they're going, Like, he seems like he's gonna just keep doing it, like he's not interested in the peace talks.
Let me
Zelensky's
ask you a
doing
question then.
everything.
Fair enough.
He's doing everything right, showing like, I'm coming to the peace talks. I want a ceasefire. How do we get there? Like, they couldn't even define. Was it the leader Medinsky who was saying like, well, we'll come and define what a ceasefire means? Like,
Mhm.
how do you not know what cease and fire mean? Like,
Because
I
there's
mean,
no hope for it, man. This is maybe worth 30 years of working in Russia. So I would ask you this question. Who is neutral out there that may be changed by this type of rhetoric?
there are low information people that can swing populations in various countries, right? One way or another. They just hear what they hear in their own media. But over time, you're starting to see a thaw, even with Republicans like Ben Shapiro and others that are like starting to go, Trump, what are you doing?
Yeah, well,
Right?
I've
He's
not
all
thawed.
in
I've
for
completely
Trump, but
melted
he's going
down.
like, Trump, you got to stop doing this, got to stop doing that. So
Can that change him?
eventually, theoretically, but I don't know that it's going to necessarily. But I'm just saying this meeting was on net a positive for Ukraine, not on net a positive for Russia. I
Okay.
don't see that they got any, that Russia actually got anything, and the neutral thing was the exchange of prisoners. So both sides can declare some kind of victory in the peace talks, but they're just
Russia?
showing that they're barbarians.
Correct. And
Yeah.
they received confirmation to continue waging the war that we're trying to stop. That's the problem. So I could understand your argument if there were neutral parties out there, for example, in the war, let's call it India-Pakistan, the big skirmish that happened for a few days. And really nobody in the world knows anything about it other than those that pay attention to that region of the world. And we have a peace negotiation. The sides come together. And then out of that, we could say, okay, this is a positive because now we're learning who India is. We're learning who Pakistan is, and this will benefit them in the future. I would 100% agree with you because nobody knows about that. But in this situation, this has been the headline. There are organizations around the world fighting Russian propaganda growing every day. This is not a war that's been under a rock that's now being exposed, and this is a win. This is just this is a green light for Russia to continue ripping Ukraine through the air and on the ground.
Okay, I could go to a Republican gathering, close my eyes and throw a rock, and I'll hit somebody who is convinced that Ukraine started the war and they're the militant one.
Completely agree
That's what I'm
with you.
saying.
Okay.
And that's what I'm saying. So this is showing, no, it's Russia. That's the militant one. That's what I'm trying to explain. I think this is actually showing them for what they are.
Agreed.
Make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
So
and I agree with that. My only argument is we already know who they are.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. We were just looking at it from different prisms.
Okay. So now let's go to President Donald Trump, and I will still try to respect him. But the man blatantly lied about these meetings. Blatantly.
Okay.
On Air Force One, on his way back home, he was asked about the delegation. If you guys want to see that video, you can go back on my channel earlier, and I played it, the audio recording of it. Asked about the negotiations, the delegations, etc. He point blank said, hey, I made a $4 trillion deal. I don't know anything about delegations. I don't care about delegations. I don't know what's going on down there. This is the same president who 3 to 4 days ago stated, we must have Russia and Ukraine sit down together. We must bring the sides together. He was not only aware of the delegations, he was sending Rubio and Witkoff and spoke about the delegations meeting. And
Witkoff wasn't in it.
I understand.
Yeah, that's one of the interesting things.
Earlier. Yeah. He knew about the delegations. So to stand there and gloat about a $4 trillion deal and point blank, he said it. I don't know anything about the delegations.
Okay.
For me,
so I don't know exactly what you're taking away from it, but what I hear in that is that Trump wants to keep the focus on Trump, on his deal-making prowess, rather than talk about this other thing that's not working out so hot.
Which means there will be no focus on Ukraine
about it.
about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's all that I hear from that, is that he wants to keep the focus on the awesomeness that he is in his mind. And so, okay, I mean, of course he knows things that are going on, but I mean,
But he's
what
lying about it.
okay, I mean, what what is it that you hope to take away from this?
There's nothing to hope to
Is
take
that
away
some
from
kind
it.
of
I
win for
take
Russia?
away from it, he doesn't care ultimately
No,
about
of course
Ukraine
not.
because there's no
He does not
bottom
care.
line deal that he can make.
Nobody's arguing that he cares about Ukraine.
He said on the campaign trail multiple times, I will end the war in 24 hours. I know these
Yeah,
guys.
sure.
He
It
has
was
said,
hyperbole that he wasn't gonna. Yeah, sure. What?
give me 100 days. It's not going so well. He has
Yeah.
said, okay, we need
He
another 100
said that
days. We're
he's
figuring it
gotta
out.
meet he's gotta sit down and meet with Putin. I don't know that he actually wants to meet with Putin, because if he sits down and meets with Putin and Putin repudiates it, now he looks even worse.
With that statement, I 1,000,000% agree with you, Professor. We finally come to a
So,
place we can agree. If
yeah.
Donald Trump takes the risk to sit down with Putin and he comes out not looking good,
Yeah.
it's over. I
Well,
don't
does
think
he
they'll
walk
ever sit
away then,
down.
or does he, help Ukraine? Like, he doesn't wanna help Ukraine. I don't think he likes Zelensky at all. I think he really, for some reason, has some kind of, like, I don't wanna say a man crush, but he just really likes Putin and wants to be buddies with Putin, and can't seem to wrap around his brain that Putin's playing him. So,
He likes authoritarians. I think that's a fair statement.
he does seem to, admire that for some reason I can't quite figure out, when he actually has more power than they do, and he somehow admires it. It's weird.
Honestly,
So,
I mean, I'm not a mathematician and don't want to say anything that's wrong. This has been our debate video, opinion video. Um, I mean, you can argue he's not only the most powerful man in the world, but probably the more powerful than most of them combined.
yeah,
And
yeah. So why admire them? It's bizarre. I mean, it just okay. So back to the peace talk
yes,
thing. So if you're winning, you don't have to put out propaganda about it, like I saw on Sputnik, and like I saw in some other channels where they're changing things, like Zelensky's so scared because of Putin's wrath, or what. I mean, really, like
no,
it's bizarre. I just don't see that they even think that they're winning. They are trying to win a PR war right now by framing the message the way that they want to frame it, and that message is that Zelensky is desperate and Putin is strong, and we probably see that the same way. But
100%.
yeah,
And if you guys are out there, of course, you're watching us on YouTube, but if you're out there and you're seeing clickbait like that, don't waste your time. Let me confirm for
yeah,
you 100%. The only man in the room is President Vladimir Zelensky. And who's in the room is Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. They're boys compared to that wartime leader who has went through everything possible to destroy his life economically, through his accusations that were not true of being a bandit and a thief and a mafia guy, you name it. He's been through it all and he's still standing there, and he's walking through Turkey yesterday and the reporter shouts at him, do you have any words for Putin? And he looks at the camera and he's angry. I know Ukrainians. He's angry. He says, I'm here. That's a man.
yeah. That's
That's
right.
a man. He lives
And
in a
Putin sent
war ravaged nation. He visits the front lines regularly, risking life and limb. He's not removed his family. He knows what this war is about. I would in turn say this, the reason that Russia will not stop waging war is not because Putin is so strong, but because Putin is a coward who wages war by exerting power of military because he can't put
yeah,
out. So he's going to continue.
he can't stop. If he stops, he's going to have massive dislocation within his country. War veterans returning home, or economic turmoil, or potentially a color revolution.
Mhm.
Like, he doesn't want any part of that. So no,
Well,
he's
I'll
not planning to
point you
stop.
to this. I think I shared it with you, or I had it on the video today. Um, Russia, even before the negotiations had ended, had already put out the talking points for their state media. Negotiations were a failure. Okay. We did everything right. We have told them what we require. Okay. We will do a prisoner exchange. And yes, sanctions from Europe will be incoming after this, but don't worry about it. We're fiscally sound.
Sure.
That was the talking
Sure, I'm
points.
sure they're putting that out because they have to win this PR war. So, okay, so with what they've said or the victory lap that they're trying to run, I'm sure you're thinking that they see that they have won some kind of great victory. I don't see that. By sending the B team, I think they lost before they started. Right now, what Putin is doing, a great article that I read was talking about how what he was doing was sending this team instead of his normal negotiators, so he can run his negotiations at a distance. Like these are his drones doing his bidding on their Putin's bidding at their. They don't have much of a mandate other than saying these, these particular claims and nothing more than that. Like they couldn't really negotiate in a meaningful way. That's exactly what Putin wanted. So in that regard, I guess he's winning like what he wants because he's delaying peace talks that he doesn't really want to have. I mean, I can say that, but I just don't see it
Let me ask you
as
this
a
question.
win in the broader sense.
Okay. He sent the B team. He actually sent the C or D team. I mean, really low level guys. But they had enough authority to reject the Americans sitting in there and kicking out the Turks.
Yeah, that was interesting. That was a okay. So I'll give him that. I'll give you that particular point. Like, because that was like really flexing by going, you know what, we don't even want them in here. And that was a bit after Rubio was like, I'm not going to be there because like you got to send your foreign minister if I'm going to be there. And so I think that was trying to give the Americans and Turks, which was weird because the Turks organized it, somewhat of a comeuppance.
It is how they planned it. It was okay. Zelensky wants this peace. He wants these talks. He wants a ceasefire. I remind you that there was a deadline for the ceasefire for May 12th. And if that passed, the Europeans were going to impose all of these sanctions. They all said it. None of them did it.
Yeah, and they got to stop doing that.
The world then waited for Vladimir Putin to make his statement. He came out at 1:30 in the morning after a midnight schedule. He made an 18-minute statement. He took no questions. He says, on the 15th, we will be in Turkey to have talks. That was it. Stood up, walked out, told everybody, Zbolgum, Zbolgum. And what that means in Russian is, God be with you. He walks out the door. We hear Lavrov is going. We hear Dmitriev is going. And time trickles. U.S., we even hear Trump. Oh, I may go to Turkey. I'm over here. I can get there in a heartbeat. Rubio's going. Witkoff's going. Kellogg's going. We're gonna solve it. Next thing you know, at the very last minute, even after Zelensky had said, I'm sending Umarov, I'm sending everybody in the kitchen sink. He sent everybody. Putin comes out and goes, well, I'm sending Larry, Mo, Curly, and Shemp. That's basically the way Ukraine and anybody that knows Russian politics would call it. I'm sending Larry, Mo, Curly, and Shemp. And for those of you watching internationally, that's the Three Stooges in America. Plus Shemp.
Yeah. So was that an intentional ploy to
completely
say
calculated.
I'm sending this and then actually send that? Was that
absolutely 100%? Lavrov was never going. Putin was never going. Dmitriev was never going. None of those guys were ever going. This was nothing but a show. Exchange some prisoners. Reiterate to the world that give up the 4 regions, fully withdraw, which means we get Zaporizhia and Kherson. Or this, and I'm talking about the cities, including the regions.
Yeah.
Or you don't want peace. You don't want peace because they're our territories. They're on our constitution.
Mm.
Witkoff even agrees with us. Give up the territories. The Americans agree. It's the Ukrainians that are messing it up. It is
Yeah, I'm
Witkoff
sure they're gonna try to pass that. I think they
already passing
I
it.
think that they really have shown that they're not serious, and, I mean, that's just a difference, but I'm sure what you're saying is right, that they're going to use that as a PR blitz at this point. I mean, that's what they're gonna walk away with, and that's what they're gonna push, and it'll be in Sputnik and RT, and then it'll be in Asian papers and African newspapers and whatever that just wholesale copy and paste RT because they're lazy, and,
Mhm.
yeah, you'll see it.
You will. And
So
right now we're expecting 150 drones. They're already flying over Kharkiv, and the Tupolev 95s are being loaded at Olena Airfield. There
well,
you
it'll
have
be a
it.
busy night.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Well, this was
so if
fun.
anybody's watching and you don't have to like side with one side or the other. Take whatever pieces you think fit and makes most sense to you, and make your own decision. Like this is just so that we can see different perspectives of the same thing. And like I'm not like Greg, you're wrong. I
And I'm
mean, this
not
is just
prof.
I
You're
see it
wrong.
differently.
The bottom line is we both bring perspective to it. And with that perspective, somewhere in the middle, we can find the truth. That's where we're at. Hopefully.
Yep.
Thank
All
you.
right. Hope this
Hope
was
you feel
helpful to
better.
those that are watching.
Well, if I'd have known you'd have had sunglasses on, I would have turned the lights out on you and we could have
I was not
sang I wear
expecting
my
to be
sunglasses in
dilated
the
at the
dark.
appointment. Yeah.
All right. Thank you
Yeah,
guys.
if I
And
try to do that, it's pretty rough.
I know the feeling. Hey,
Yeah.
stay tuned on Professor Gertis's channel, on my channel, Greg Terry Experience, because we will be continually updating. There's a lot of stuff going on right now, and we do our best to share truth with you and keep you informed. So be blessed, guys.
All right. Thanks,
Cool.
man. See you.
Yes, sir. Bye bye.